This is the European bison, Europe's largest land mammal and a living symbol of ecological restoration. Not long ago, these giants were reintroduced to Romania's southern Carpathians, one of the continent's grandest mountain ranges. But Romania didn't just bring back a handful. For over a decade now, it has been steadily returning bison to their ancestral home. In 2014 alone, 18 bison were released at once into the wild. That may sound risky, especially given their immense appetite. A single bison can eat up to 130 pounds of vegetation daily, devouring exactly what conservationists often try to preserve: grasses, leaves, and young shoots. They're not particularly gentle either. Bison rub against trees, sometimes toppling them, and dig up the soil with their massive hooves. At first glance, it might seem like reintroducing them would destroy the very landscapes people are trying to protect. But there's a twist. Every bison released is part of a carefully designed plan to heal these mountain ecosystems. Bison once roamed freely across Europe, including the Carpathians. So what went wrong? Why did they vanish? The answer is partly natural and partly human-made. A study by the Polish Academy of Sciences found that the European bison population began declining nearly 15,000 years ago due to post-Ice Age climate changes that shrank their habitats. But the real tipping point came when they encountered humans. As agriculture expanded, forests were cleared, and bison habitats shrank. The rise of firearms in the 1500s only sped up their decline. By the early 20th century, wild European bison were nearly extinct. The last significant group, about 600 animals, lived in Poland's Białowieża forest. But even they couldn't escape the devastation of World War I. German troops killed most of them, leaving only 9 alive. By 1927, the last truly wild European bison was killed. What was once a continent-wide species had vanished from the wild. Only a dozen individuals survived in zoos and private collections. Fast forward to the present, and to Romania, specifically the Țarcu Mountains. No wild bison had lived here for over 2 centuries. Human activities like hunting, deforestation, and farming had long since driven them away. Even after the bison disappeared, logging continued. The once dense forests of the Carpathians gave way to bare hills. Between 2000 and 2022, over 74,000 forest plots were cut, reducing forest cover in the region by 8.6%. That may not sound huge, but in one of Europe's richest natural reserves, even small losses ripple through entire ecosystems. The Carpathians are home to 30% of Europe's plant species and large populations of brown bears, wolves, lynxes, and rare birds. They're listed by the World Wildlife Fund as one of Earth's most biodiverse ecoregions. But those ecosystems depend on healthy forests and meadows, both of which have been suffering. In response, Romanian conservationists turned to an unlikely hero, the European bison. It might seem counterintuitive to release such massive animals into a fragile environment. But bison are what ecologists call keystone species, organisms that play a crucial role in maintaining the structure of their ecosystems. Enter Rewilding Europe, a conservation initiative supported by the World Wildlife Fund. In 2014, the organization gathered bison from breeding centers across the continent, from Sweden to central Italy, and transported them to the Romanian town of Armeniș. 17 bison stepped out into the wild, walking land their ancestors hadn't seen in over 200 years. But this wasn't just a symbolic gesture. The goal was to build a thriving, self-sustaining population. Since then, more bison have been added almost every year. The most recent release in May 2024 brought 14 new individuals. Today, the region is home to about 190 bison, a major milestone considering they were absent for 2 centuries. The goal is even more ambitious, to establish a population of at least 500 animals. That might sound like a big number, but there's good reason for it. Bison are landscape architects. As they roam, they carry seeds from hundreds of plants in their fur. When they roll in the dirt, a behavior thought to help with bug bites and perhaps even social status, they create clearings where seeds can take root. According to Rewilding Europe, a single bison can help spread over 200 plant species. And it's not just their fur doing the work. Bison also eat seeds, which pass through their digestive systems and are deposited with manure, nutrient-rich and ready to spark new plant growth. Because bison often travel in groups, the impact is multiplied across the landscape. Like beavers building dams, bison engineer their environment. They shape a mosaic of open grasslands and woodlands. an in-between habitat that supports a huge range of biodiversity. Without bison, these areas might be overtaken by dense forest, but with them, a richer, more varied landscape emerges. And their influence doesn't end there. Studies by the Yale School of the Environment suggest that bison may also play a surprising role in carbon capture. Research in Romania found that 19 square miles of land with bison absorbed up to 54,000 tons of carbon annually, nearly 10 times more than the same area without bison. How? As they graze and compact the soil, bison reduce the release of stored carbon and help fertilize new growth. In essence, they lock carbon into the ground. Just by living their lives, they help slow climate change. But restoring a population isn't just about numbers. It's about genetic health. A long-term challenge for rewilding Europe is ensuring that the bison are diverse enough to avoid inbreeding. At present, about half of the Tsarku Mountains population was born in the wild, a good sign that the herd is adapting. Their range is growing too. These bison now roam across an area of 143 square miles, the fastest territorial expansion of any European bison rewilding project. One reason? They don't get supplemental feeding, which keeps them moving and foraging naturally. Still, to establish a genetically viable population, conservationists estimate they'll need 150 mature breeding individuals, meaning a total population of 350 to 400 animals. Reaching that goal might take time, but projections suggest it could happen by 2030 if current growth continues. And Romania isn't alone in this effort. Across Europe, countries are bringing bison back to life, literally. Take Poland, for example. After World War I, only 9 bison remained. But conservation efforts paid off. By 1964, there were over 100. By 2014, the number passed 1,400. By 2019, it reached 2,269. And in 2025, the population hit a record 3,000. That's a growth rate of 15 to 18% per year. Poland has become the global leader in bison conservation. So successful, in fact, that one bison, named Pual, became a minor celebrity. Unlike most bison, Pual didn't want to go back to the wild. When he was released near a wild herd in 2006, he mingled briefly before returning to people. One day, Pual wandered up to tourists having a picnic. At first, they panicked, but it quickly became clear Pual was tame. He liked humans. Rewilding teams tried again and again to reintroduce him, but Pual kept escaping enclosures, roaming villages, chasing cars, and popping up near people. Eventually, he became a local legend, mentioned in books and articles, and even the subject of a ballad and a documentary. In 2008, school children across Poland watched his story unfold on screen. There aren't many animals who reach that level of national fame, but Pual is one of them. A reminder that conservation isn't always predictable. Sometimes it has a sense of humor. Beyond cultural icons, Poland has also become a donor nation in the bison world. Thanks to its large population, the country has sent bison to help repopulate areas in Romania, Russia, Moldova, Denmark, and most recently in 2024, Portugal. Even the United Kingdom has joined the movement. In a reintroduction effort called Wilder Bleen, bison were brought back to British soil for the first time in 6,000 years. The project was hailed as one of the most significant environmental developments of 2025. All this shows just how important bison have become, not just as animals, but as agents of ecological change. From a near extinction of just 12 individuals a century ago, the European bison population has grown to around 7,500 today. This extraordinary rebound stands as a powerful example of what's possible when conservation is done right. It's also a reminder, healing the planet doesn't always require high-tech solutions. Sometimes all it takes is letting nature do what it does best, through creatures like the European bison, whose quiet grazing is reshaping the future of Europe's wild spaces.